Welcome in at 3 o'clock. I'm Rita Morocco. Let's get you behind the scenes of some of the stories that we're working on. A busy day, as it usually is, as we head into the weekend with a new round of strikes between Israel and Hezbollah today, threatening to derail the U.S.-brokered peace effort in Iran. But now both sides have agreed to pause the fighting to give peace talks their best chance. Iran now on a 60-day clock to end its nuclear program. But talks are off to a slow start. Vice President J.D. Vance scrapping a planned trip to Switzerland today after it became unclear if Iranians would even show up. With Israel's commitment to end strikes in Lebanon, Iran says talks will be rescheduled soon. We've got co-founder and executive vice president of the Quincy Institute, Trita Parsi, with us here to tell us more. What do you make of where we are just hours after this MOU was signed and looking ahead to the next 60 days?
Obviously, it is unfortunate that that first meeting had to be rescheduled, and we always knew that the biggest vulnerability to this period of negotiation would be Lebanon and the Israeli bombardment of that country and Hezbollah's strikes at the Israeli forces that are inside of Lebanon. But I think we also have to take a step back and remind ourselves, this is going to be a very bumpy ride. This is not a negotiation between two old college friends. This is a negotiation between two countries that have viewed each other as enemies for 47 years. As a result, we're going to have a lot of setbacks. We're going to have a lot of rescheduling, perhaps even suspensions of these negotiations during this 60-day. We saw how difficult it was to get to the memorandum. It's going to be even more difficult to get to the final agreement. So we should not overreact to every one of these different episodes, although, of course, for one of them to come so quickly is a problem, because we will all end up having heart attacks if we do.
Yeah, you have to. And here's the deal. We're getting a little bit of the pulse of the president always, every day, through Truth Social and what he's posting. And it doesn't seem like he's happy at this instant, saying that he would not give not even 10 cents to Iran if they continue. And we've got to let the next 60-day play out. You're right. This is almost like a marathon here.
It absolutely is. And frankly, if we take a look at the negotiations that were conducted between the Obama administration and Iran, it took more than 2 years. This is now being given 60 days. In some ways, that may be unrealistic. On the other hand, there is a need to really get to a solution quickly. Because if you don't do that, you go back to a state of war. And it's very important to understand that the alternative to this is not just some sort of a pleasant status quo. It is going back to war. And this war has been disastrous. The economic impact globally has been immense. It's been felt in the U.S., of course, as well, in a very negative way, although the United States' economy has been somewhat insulated from this because of the fact that the U.S. had had very large reserves, but also because we are not the ones importing oil from the Persian Gulf. But everyone else, particularly in Asia, have suffered tremendously because of this war.
Yeah, and that is, here's the deal, the strait is reopened, and to see at least the economy for the rest of the world moving because of that strait, and that just shows you how important this is. However, you've got Israel, which is to some degree third party in this entire situation here, and they are part of the memorandum, even though unwillingly, I would probably say, given the fact that it says that Lebanon is to be untouched during this 60-day period. That doesn't seem to be the case.
Well, I think there's certain elements. I mean, the memorandum says that there should be a region-wide ceasefire, and there's been different interpretations of exactly what that means. What I think is the likely scenario is that there should be no more fighting, obviously, and that's unfortunately not happened so far, although a new one has not come into effect, but also that there should be a phased withdrawal by the Israelis out of Lebanon. It's not their country. They shouldn't be there. There's going to be a problem, of course, because there's also some areas that are contested that are both claimed by Israel and Lebanon. I don't know how they're dealing with that. But the idea is that by the end of this 60-day period, the Israelis will be out. And if that happens, I think that would be good for everyone. Of course, the Israelis are not happy about that. And Netanyahu in particular is not happy about that, because in Israel, this is seen, I think, rather correctly as a defeat for Israel. And that defeat is put at the feet of Netanyahu. They're going to have elections in Israel in the next couple of months before October. He's likely going to lose as a result of this. And once he has lost his premiership, he no longer has the immunity that comes with being prime minister. And then he will face his trial and he will likely end up in jail. So he has also his personal incentives to sabotage Trump's deal.
Yeah, but he, to some degree, had also kind of thought that this would be his way out, was to ride, if you will, American coattails, to have the president alongside him, as we see so many of their images together along the streets of Israel, as if they were the two people that were going to potentially save the state here. And yet it seems as though, again, on rocky footing. What does the relationship right now between the U.S. and Israel look like?
I think there's going to undergo some significant changes. What J.D. Vance said yesterday is not just a change in terms of how we talk about Israel, but it could actually end up becoming a paradigm shift for the entire relationship between the United States and Israel. I think Vance was essentially reminding the Israelis, it's the United States that is the superpower in this equation. And if their interests are colliding, which they clearly are in this issue, the United States is not going to back down and let the Israelis be able to decide what should and shouldn't happen when this is of such importance to the United States. That may be how the Israelis believe that they could behave towards the Biden administration. I think the Biden administration could have put down its foot, and it didn't. It chose not to. But Trump is making clear now that on this deal, which is very important to the United States because we cannot go back to war, it's going to be the U.S.'s interest that comes first, not that of Israel.
Yeah, and you've got people like the envoys here, Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, who have stamped rubber, who have just signaled that, yes, this is the deal that they want as well, even though there seems to be some breaks there, maybe with the Secretary of State. We'll see. Regardless, the president flying back to Washington, D.C. We're expecting remarks from him from Joint Base Andrews, and we'll see what he says after his meetings there with the G7. We so appreciate your insight today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.